What unfolds when a CEO takes up a broom in search of answers and inadvertently overhears something that alters the course of everything? Elijah Rourke gazed through the tinted window of his SUV, observing as the fifth location of his diner-style restaurant chain appeared on the horizon. The exterior appeared satisfactory, tidy and bustling, yet so did the others. 7 years prior, he acquired the brand from a couple stepping back, who had nurtured it with dedication, establishing 5 locations across 3 towns. Business was consistent, profits appeared promising, and the updates from his district manager, Tom, were invariably encouraging. Yet there was an unsettling feeling that lingered. Over the past year, there has been a noticeable increase in customer complaints, nothing too alarming, but sufficient to warrant attention. Additionally, 3 employees have discreetly departed from this location in just the past month. No 2-week notices, just left. Elijah had grown weary of relying on second-hand answers. He preferred to get his hands dirty from the moment he acquired the chain. However, the demands of growth, meetings, and expansion planning diverted his attention. The majority of the team had never encountered him, and that was precisely what rendered this scheme ideal. A companion in the wardrobe had a debt to repay. Elijah, sporting a robust beard, a somewhat portly build, and a set of glasses, presented a stark contrast to the polished CEO image often featured in corporate newsletters. He entered from the rear, clad in a simple work shirt adorned with a borrowed name tag that proclaimed, Doug. He informed the district manager that he would be sending a new trainee from another branch to assist with the staffing shortage at this location. Tom refrained from inquiring. The kitchen hummed with activity during the bustling lunch hour. It was a beautifully orchestrated frenzy, the sort you anticipate from a perfectly managed diner. Initially, he felt a sense of astonishment. Orders progressed swiftly. The chefs were keen, attentive. He was assigned to work alongside a woman named Amber, who was guiding him through the fundamental floor duties of bussing tables, wiping down counters, and restocking supplies. "Just keep your distance from Cheryl," Amber whispered, passing him a rag and gesturing toward the front. "She holds the position of manager." "You'll soon understand why folks don't stick around," Elijah raised an eyebrow. "She's that bad, Amber," said with a half shrug. "Just wait and watch." Her words carried no bitterness, only a sense of weariness. He began his tasks. For the next 2 hours, he glided through the dining area with a hushed presence, sweeping and clearing plates with meticulous care, observing and absorbing. A few moments stood out brilliantly. A young server named Tasha navigated a bustling line with poise and a friendly smile. Even in the face of a customer's complaint about cold fries, she offered an apology, provided them with fresh ones, and even covered a drink, all without needing Cheryl's assistance. Yet there was Cheryl. She rarely ventured out of the back office. When she finally spoke, it was to issue a sharp command: replenish the napkins. Or why is table 6 still unclean? Before striding back through the swinging door, around 3, the lunch crowd began to dwindle. Elijah picked up a broom and moved to the far side of the dining area by the windows, quietly sweeping near a corner booth. In that moment, the sound reached his ears. From behind the kitchen half-door, Cheryl's voice pierced the stillness. "You ought to have retired 3 years ago, Helen," she said, her voice cutting through the air. "Your movements are sluggish, causing a delay for everyone." Elijah stood still, caught in the moment. The broom handle halted in its motion, as another voice emerged, gentle yet taut. "I'm giving it my all. After 12 years here, I understand the rhythm. You know the rhythm too, so either step it up or leave. Your presence isn't helping us when you move about in such a manner." Silence. "I swear," Cheryl muttered, "if I have to hear one more sob story about your arthritis." Elijah stepped slowly toward the kitchen door. He glanced through the window. Helen stood by the prep sink, her hands quivering just a bit as she clutched a pile of clean trays. She appeared to be in her late 50s, her graying hair pulled back and her eyes reflecting a sense of weariness. She wasn't shedding tears, yet her expression conveyed a sense of finality. Cheryl faced away, continuing her conversation as she typed away at the computer. "Longevity doesn't grant you any privileges. Faithfulness won't cover the expenses. If you find it challenging to stay on pace, perhaps it's best to step aside." Helen remained silent. She placed the trays down gently and made her way with deliberate slowness toward the rear exit. Elijah made his way through the door. "Hey," he murmured softly, approaching her by the back door. "Are you all right?" she asked, her eyes widening in surprise. Doug was right, her voice trembled. "I'm all right, just require a moment," he acknowledged with a nod. "You've been here for 12 years, 12 and a half, she remarked, her smile faint. "Yet perhaps that's sufficient." He spoke softly, urging, "Please, don't make that decision today." With a subtle nod, she made her way outside. Elijah lingered in that moment, his heart racing with intensity. This was not a case of miscommunication. This was not merely a case of someone experiencing a rough moment. This had become a routine, and he was finished with the sweeping. The back door closed gently behind Helen, accompanied by a soft rattle, while Elijah remained still in the prep hallway. The faint hum of a cooler, the sole sound in the quiet space. His jaw tightened, not from anger, not yet, but from a concentrated calmness. He was taken aback by the rapid decay, yet the facade was beginning to falter, compelling him to maintain his performance just a bit longer. He quietly returned to the kitchen, merging seamlessly with the flow of activity. He went unnoticed, the line cook engrossed in the dance of the sizzling skillet, the dishwasher lost in his world, scrubbing trays with earbuds firmly in place. Elijah advanced with determination, yet his gaze absorbed every detail around him. 10 minutes later, Amber caught his attention by the dry storage shelf. "Are you doing well?" she inquired softly, and he responded with a single nod. "I'm doing well." She cast a fleeting look toward the front. "It could be beneficial to take your time. Cheryl seems to be feeling a bit off. Is that usual?" She spoke without a trace of humor, then turned and walked away. Elijah made his way back to the floor, this time tending to the booths by the east-facing windows. The quiet of the late afternoon enveloped him, providing the perfect opportunity to observe. Tasha busily arranged the glasses by the soda machine, a soft melody escaping her lips as she worked. She hurried along, yet her limp became apparent now that the urgency had subsided. He moved forward with deliberate slowness. "Are you okay?" "Indeed," she replied, her gaze fixed elsewhere. "It's just a rolled ankle, I'm fine. Did it occur here just last week?" She attempted to dismiss it. I inquired with Cheryl about the possibility of sitting briefly between the tables, just until the situation improves. She mentioned that if I needed to take a seat, I could do so at home. Elijah's eyes fluttered open. She stated that precisely, verbatim. Tasha finally turned her gaze toward him. "Yet I find myself here, seeking the hours, though he remains unresponsive." He found it hard to believe the thoughts that surfaced in his mind. Instead, he made his way back to the host stand, where a young boy, perhaps no older than 17, was busy folding menus. He wore a name tag that said Leo. He raised his gaze and offered a courteous nod. "So you're just starting out, huh?" Leo inquired. "Absolutely, inaugural day. You chose an unusual moment to arrive." He leaned in a bit closer. "In the span of 6 weeks, we've experienced 5 resignations. Many of them failed to inform Cheryl. At all. They simply ceased to appear." Elijah maintained a steady tone. "Do you have any thoughts on that?" Leo offered a slight shrug. "She has guidelines for every aspect. No breaks allowed during the shift, even if you are here for 7 hours straight. Any hint of disagreement, even unintentionally, leads to a written reprimand. And if someone errs in front of customers, she'll point it out immediately with emphasis. Has it always been this way?" That wasn't the case when I began. In those days we had a fellow named Eddie serving as the assistant manager. He was just always stepping in for others when challenges arose. Cheryl moved him to the warehouse district 2 months back, claiming he was too soft. Elijah expressed his gratitude and took a step back. He had to witness Cheryl's prowess firsthand rather than just listen to tales of her abilities. Just as expected, she stepped out of the office, clipboard in hand. She surveyed the dining area, then commanded attention. "Leo, table 7 has been waiting for 10 minutes. Where are their drinks?" Leo began to respond, but she interrupted him. "I'm not interested in excuses. Advance." He rushed away. Cheryl glanced at Amber, who was diligently cleaning the counter. The ketchup bins were not refilled last night. Amber remained unfazed. I certainly did. Review the log. So, what explains the two that I discovered half empty this morning? Amber remained silent. That's what I thought, Cheryl remarked, her voice carrying to the closest patrons. To maintain your schedule for next week, I recommend concentrating your efforts. Elijah advanced with purpose. I replenished that section earlier today. Perhaps there was an oversight prior to our beginning. Cheryl pivoted towards him with deliberate slowness, assessing him carefully. So you're the one who transferred from East Bay, huh? Indeed, it's best to remain silent unless prompted to share your thoughts. He acknowledged her gaze. Got it. She turned away, whispering something quietly to herself. Elijah glanced at the clock. The clock had just ticked past 4. He had a few hours remaining before the dinner service began to intensify. He required additional time on the floor, yet he also sought answers from the back. He seized the opportunity when Cheryl vanished into the walk-in cooler and quietly made his way into the office. The computer remained logged in. He perused the latest articles. There were numerous: Amber, Tasha, Leo, and even Helen on 2 occasions in the past month, all for not meeting pace expectations. No official break logs existed, nor was there any documentation of hourly check-ins, no evidence indicating adherence to labor standards. He accessed the payroll window and looked for Helen's name. He leaned back, staring at the screen, reflecting on how her hours had been reduced by nearly 30% over the last 4 weeks. This was more than mere mismanagement. This was a calculated strategy aimed at encouraging individuals to leave voluntarily without the need for termination. A sudden knock on the door pulled him from his thoughts. Cheryl lingered in the doorway, her arms crossed defiantly. Doug, what are you up to? He stood, searching for the cleaning schedule. Amber mentioned that it's typically found in this location. She squinted her eyes. Whenever you find yourself in need of assistance, feel free to reach out to me. Please refrain from accessing my files. He acknowledged her with a nod and continued on his way. By 5:30, the dinner crowd began to filter in. Elijah sprang back into action, swiftly clearing tables while staying alert to his surroundings. A family with 3 children gathered close to the front window. The little one inadvertently toppled a cup of juice. Tasha rushed over with towels, her limp causing a slight delay. Apologies for the chaos, the mother remarked, visibly flustered. Tasha replied with a reassuring smile, kneeling down softly. Cheryl emerged from the shadows, standing just behind her. Why is it taking so much time? Tasha remained silent, her focus solely on her cleaning task. Please expedite your process. We need to keep the line moving. The mother glanced upward, taken aback. She is doing well. Cheryl turned a blind eye to her. If you're not ready to take the stage, you can sign off. Tasha stood, her hands tightly balled into fists. I am fulfilling my responsibilities. With great hesitation, Elijah took a step forward. Tasha is managing it, Cheryl remarked. She has her own voice. No, but I can observe who is engaged and who is not. She moved closer to him. Do you want to be the next one featured in the write-up? He remained silent, his gaze fixed on her. She glanced over her shoulder at Tasha. It's time to clock out immediately. Tasha appeared as if she were encased in ice. Her gaze flickered between Cheryl and Elijah, and then she gradually made her way to the back. Elijah trailed behind. He discovered her by the supply closet, propped against the wall, gasping for breath. You shouldn't have to endure that, he remarked. I can't afford to lose this job, she whispered. The rent is due on Saturday. He retrieved his phone and typed a brief message to his assistant. Call me in 5. Then, he stepped back onto the floor, where the atmosphere was now electric. Cheryl stood by the counter, meticulously examining the receipts. Elijah stepped into the heart of the dining room, and his phone began to ring. He responded. Indeed, he remarked. Proceed. He hesitated. Understood. I will handle it. He ended the call and faced Cheryl. I am not Doug. I am Elijah Rourke, the owner of this company. She gazed at him, immobilized. I arrived here due to my loss of faith in reports. Today, I've witnessed enough to validate the reasons behind it. Several gazes shifted. Your actions have fostered an unwelcoming atmosphere. You have overlooked necessary injury accommodations, disregarded labor protocols, and treated dedicated employees as if they are expendable. That changes today, her cheeks burning. It's not as simple as that. It is for me, and I'm doing it. She parted her lips once more, yet he lifted a hand to silence her. Your time here has come to an end. Please collect your belongings. Your termination is effective immediately. Quiet enveloped the space as he glanced over at Leo. Could you please fetch Tasha and inform her that she's been reinstated with full pay for today? Leo nodded, his eyes filled with wonder. Elijah confronted the remaining members of the team. We are not operating a sweatshop. We operate a company that prioritizes the well-being of its individuals. If you have any concerns, please feel free to come see me in the office. I will be here for the remainder of the shift. He pivoted and made his way toward the rear hallway, the heaviness of the restaurant closing in around him. This was just the beginning. The decay had been severed, and now the true endeavor, the restoration, could at last commence. Elijah remained for the entirety of the evening shift, devoid of any corporate shield or official statement. Only he stood there, amidst the chaos, both behind the counter and on the floor. He wasn't present to declare anything. He was there to explore the depths of this situation. As the final customer departed and the lights faded into a soft glow, the staff navigated the space with a subdued carefulness. Uncertain of what the next moment held, Amber was finishing up with the register, her hands calm, yet her gaze would occasionally wander to Elijah, hesitant about whether to say something. Tasha was meticulously folding silverware at a side table, her ankle now wrapped, courtesy of a small first aid kit that Elijah had retrieved from the office. Leo meticulously polished the soda machine, the final droplets sizzling against the cold steel surface. Elijah lingered by the prep counter, not dominating the space, but undeniably there. You mentioned we could have a conversation, Amber finally stated, her voice soft yet distinct. He gave a slight nod. I truly meant it. She approached the counter with a calm confidence, her movements deliberate and assured. Are you genuinely planning to stay here, or is this just a fleeting visit? I'll be around for the next 3 days. My schedule is already cleared. She released her breath gradually, as if it had been trapped within her for an eternity. Okay, I'll be straightforward, please. Cheryl didn't begin at this level. She wasn't exceptional, but she posed no threat. The situation deteriorated further with the onset of the labor cuts. Fewer individuals per shift, extended hours. She became unkind. Some of us thought she was anxious about losing her job, so she began to pressure everyone more intensely, but it ultimately crossed the line. He leaned his arms against the counter. What sort of labor reductions? Amber pondered with her arms crossed. Approximately 4 months ago, our scheduled hours were significantly reduced. Entire shifts were eliminated, with the explanation that corporate was making adjustments for efficiency. Cheryl informed us that it originated from above. Elijah stated that it didn't originate from his office. I have never given my consent to a budget reduction affecting floor staff. Amber appeared taken aback, yet remained open-minded. Then someone has been deceiving, he acknowledged with a single nod. I will discover who it is. Tasha approached, carefully unwrapping a new set of utensils. She often reminded us that if we found the rules unappealing, we were free to go. Elijah furrowed his brow at the mention of new hires being easy to train and not requesting raises. Has anyone truly received the proper training? Tasha replied with a flat tone. No. In my 6 months here, I've never had the experience of shadowing someone for a shift only to be thrown into the role immediately afterward. Leo completed the task of cleaning the machine and moved aside. She insisted I take on both hosting and buzzing simultaneously, claiming my youth meant I could manage it. Amber mentioned that it was during Father's Day weekend. We had a full schedule for 8 consecutive hours. He received no respite, no nourishment, nothing at all. Elijah cast a glance at Leo. Did you request one? I certainly did. She chuckled, believing I was just teasing. Elijah remained silent. He required time to fully digest that before responding. Instead, he examined their expressions. Everyone here was being completely truthful. They were weary, lacking any flair. Truthful, not spiteful, he mentioned that I have a meeting with the district manager tomorrow. In private, he is the designated individual responsible for auditing all locations. If he was aware of this and chose to ignore it, he will be the next one in line. Amber inclined her head. Tom nodded. She paused, uncertain. I used to believe he was simply oblivious, but perhaps that's not the case, Tasha whispered. He visited just once last month. Cheryl had us clock out early to tidy up the labor numbers, claiming it was merely for inspection. Elijah's jaw clenched, and he refrained from pondering the absence of half the team. Leo gave a slight shake of his head. He smiled, remarked that everything appeared tight and efficient, and then departed. Elijah remained silent. He wasn't able to do so just yet. Very well, he finally replied. Return to your place of residence. Looking forward to seeing everyone tomorrow. No one is losing time. No one is being let go. Amber gazed at him for an extended moment. Are you certain you're prepared to tackle this? I won't go until it's done. As dawn approached, Elijah made his way there, arriving just before the sun broke the horizon. The structure loomed in shadows, the parking area almost deserted. Just a single car was parked in front of Helen's. She sat quietly inside, the engine silent, her hands resting gently in her lap. With deliberate steps, he made his way to the driver's side and gently rapped on the window. She let it roll down, taken aback. I never expected to cross paths with... You again, she remarked. I wished for it as she cast her eyes toward the restaurant. I didn't make it to work today. I simply found myself at a loss for where to go at this hour. I invite you to come inside, he said, not as an employee, but as someone whose voice matters. She regarded him intently for a prolonged moment. Then she swung the door open and stepped outside. Within the confines of the kitchen, a chill lingered in the air. No burners aglow, no aroma of coffee wafting through the air, only the sharp metallic resonance of their footsteps. They settled into a secluded booth at the back. Elijah refrained from reaching for his phone. He failed to jot down any notes, he simply absorbed every word. Helen began, saying she started here when her youngest went to college. Initially, it was a part-time endeavor, but it soon transitioned to full-time. The rhythm captivated me, the people intrigued me, and even the noise resonated with me. Elijah inquired if it had always been good, not flawless but satisfactory. In the past, we would come together to honor birthdays, supporting one another in the process. When Cheryl arrived, things began to shift gradually at first. Suddenly, everything changed. What brought you to this place? She gazed downward. Perhaps it was habit or maybe pride. Perhaps I believed I could endure longer than she could. Elijah nodded. She released a gentle sigh, expressing that it shouldn't have been necessary. For the past 2 months, I've contemplated walking away every week, yet I found myself unable to take that step. She believed she would triumph, but she wouldn't. Helen locked eyes with him. Then prevent her substitutes from taking on her identity. Elijah nodded once. I shall. At 7, the team started to arrive, with Amber being the first, followed by Leo and Tasha. Elijah had assured them of a gathering prior to the opening, and they entered quietly, uncertain of what lay ahead. They assembled in the back dining area, which remained softly illuminated. Elijah started with a firm tone, aiming for clarity. There is no scrutiny taking place here. You are not being judged. He glanced around the table, acknowledging the weight of what you've endured, something that was never meant to be your burden. Change is on the horizon, genuine change, but it's not a mere speech that will bring it about. It's about the framework. So let me outline what's unfolding. He retrieved a printed sheet. Today, a temporary floor manager from another branch will be joining us. Her name is Marissa, and she is fair, experienced, and possesses a remarkable ability to lead without diminishing others. Tasha inclined her body, eager and attentive. Is she going to stay? No, Elijah stated. She's here to bring balance to the situation. Following that, we will initiate the internal application process. Those who wish to take on more responsibility will be evaluated, thoroughly trained, and provided with the necessary support. Amber arched an eyebrow. Even us, particularly you, he went on. Secondly, all reports released in the past 60 days are currently under review. All those that stemmed from the policy violations Cheryl concocted have vanished, Leo blinked. Every single one. Indeed. And lastly, we are introducing a new feedback channel that can be anonymous if you prefer. No longer will I document events only to witness in action. He paused. This establishment will operate with honor. There was no fear, no applause, no cheers to be heard. This moment transcended its initial intent. A palpable shift enveloped the room, a stillness that had shed its cloak of fear, revealing the delicate emergence of trust beginning to unravel. Elijah meticulously folded the sheet, his hands moving with a practiced grace. A busy day awaits us, but you won't be facing it solo this time. He strolled into the kitchen, the burners igniting with a familiar click, the aroma of coffee wafting through the air. And for the first time in ages, the restaurant stirred to life, free from the weight of anxiety. As Elijah approached the conclusion of his third day within the branch, a shift in the atmosphere was palpable, though it remained incomplete. Transforming a culture is not something that happens in an instant. You can begin to release the pressure valve before it reaches a breaking point. He had dedicated the past 2 days not merely to observation, but to collaborating closely with the crew, allowing them the freedom to operate while remaining vigilant for any subtle indications of damage. It was evident that the team had merely been getting by, rather than functioning effectively. Marissa, a shift manager from another location known for her reliable leadership, had arrived just in time for the breakfast rush that morning. She remained calm, refrained from excessive correction, and gave space. She reviewed the lists with a calm demeanor, posed inquiries when necessary, and allowed individuals to address challenges independently without interference. Elijah observed. Her manager-vendor misdelivery, a spilled tray and a tardy server, all while maintaining her composure and never raising her voice. It wasn't about showing weakness, it was all about skill, and that was precisely what this place required. Confidence, with conviction. Once the lunch rush had subsided, Elijah reached out to the district manager, Tom, requesting a meeting in the back office. He withheld specifics, merely stating that it held significance. Tom showed up just before 3, clad in a corporate fleece and sporting his trademark confident smile. He rapped twice before entering, evidently unprepared for what lay in store for him. Elijah positioned himself at the desk, his hands neatly folded, a printed folder spread open before him. "Please take a seat." Tom's smile wavered, yet he complied. "How long have you been in charge of this region?" 4.5 years, Tom replied, as he adjusted his watch with a thoughtful expression. "Is everything okay here? I heard that Cheryl has been released from her position." "She was, Elijah," stated plainly, "and there exists a list of reasons that ought to have been highlighted on your part. I have reviewed all internal audits you provided for this location over the past year. No one brings up staff turnover, morale problems, or operational challenges. Each one radiates a brilliant light." "I reported what I saw," Tom said, maintaining a steady tone. "No, you shared what you intended for me to notice." Elijah pushed a handful of pages over the desk. "You came during quieter times, refrained from inquiring with the staff, and approved inaccurate schedules. I have verified 3 occasions where employees were instructed to clock out during your walkthrough, Tom." "Clarified. That falls under management's purview, not my responsibility. If Cheryl adjusted the schedule to create a more favorable impression, she did so with your awareness." "That's not fair. Please don't interrupt." Tom leaned back, his arms crossing slowly. "You managed a branch where seasoned employees were forced out, injured staff were denied essential accommodations, and turnover was presented in a polished manner to safeguard your metrics. You didn't merely overlook it. You supported it." "I did not support any particular thing. Could you please clarify this?" Elijah retrieved a final document, a memo bearing Tom's signature from 3 months ago, which authorized a labor reduction plan for the branch. It included a note advising discretion in execution and to limit paper trails. Tom stood still. His lips parted, yet silence lingered. "Your position is being terminated, effective immediately. The final check will be processed once the HR review is complete." Tom rose gradually. "This is a misstep. I have maintained this area efficient and lucrative." Elijah responded, "You left it empty. Gather your belongings As Tom departed without uttering another word, Elijah reclined, allowing the stillness to envelop him. It wasn't fulfillment. He experienced only a sense of clarity. One cannot remedy a foundation by merely applying a fresh coat over decay. You need to eliminate it, even if it means losing someone with an impressive title. By 5, the team had assembled in the dining area again, this time not due to an order, but because they lingered after the last tables were cleared. Crumbs were still being wiped away, chairs were being flipped, yet no one made a move to depart. Elijah stood there, arms hanging loosely at his sides. Everyone has experienced something that should never have occurred. It wasn't merely mismanagement. It ran much deeper, and it resulted in the loss of valuable individuals. However, I have taken steps today to ensure that this does not happen again. Leo rested against the mop handle, his forehead glistening from the long dinner shift. Is there a new appointment for the district lead position? At this moment I am, Elijah stated. We will reconstruct that position by gathering insights from those who are directly involved in it. Open the doors to new opportunities. Amber placed a crate filled with refill bottles onto the ground. What happens if someone like Cheryl attempts to re-enter the system? A different manager with a new name? They will not, Elijah stated. All employee files have been marked for cross-branch behavior, and beginning next week, we will initiate a peer review rotation. Each month, 2 team members from various locations will observe here, and some of you will take turns rotating out. You will communicate with me directly without any intermediaries. Tasha perched at the counter, her ankles still bound, yet her demeanor exuded a sense of ease. You mentioned you'd be here for 3 days. What's the plan for tomorrow? I'm not on the schedule, he mentioned, but I'll be present, outside of work hours, not in a managerial role, merely an additional pair of hands. Helen, having quietly returned to her dishwashing duties that morning, emerged from the kitchen doorway, her apron drenched, yet her voice unwavering. There's no need for further proof, Elijah. He stated that he wasn't proving anything. I am completing what I began. That evening, while they tidied up and replenished supplies, Elijah lingered, not out of obligation, but simply because no one had urged him to go. The following week, the corporate team dispatched a small group to review all 5 locations, not to impose penalties, but to understand better. They organized roundtables rather than seminars. They documented, converted to text, and proceeded with action. Following the emergence of complaints, 2 assistant managers from different branches were reassigned. A specific location was briefly shut down for the purpose of retraining. At the original location, progress unfolded, gradually and with precision. Marisa stayed for a fortnight before endorsing Leo for the role of assistant floor lead. She withheld it from him. She prepared him, challenged him, and ensured he could navigate conflict without succumbing to it. Tasha received the opportunity to temporarily cut back on her hours while still enjoying full medical leave coverage. She opted out of the break, but agreed to take on shorter shifts until her ankle was completely healed. Later that month, she received a promotion offer. She requested additional time to contemplate the matter. Amber had no desire for a label. She sought stability, and she achieved it. She continued her tenure, frequently taking on the closing shifts, and was ultimately presented with an opportunity to serve as a cross-location trainer. She agreed. Helen chose to return to mornings only, not due to an inability to manage more, but rather in pursuit of balance. Elijah ensured that her schedule was updated permanently, and as for Cheryl, she never returned. The HR department has verified that she submitted an application to another location using an alternate version of her name. The system has identified it as a concern. The application has been rejected. 2 months later, Elijah entered the dining room just before it was set to open. Without any grand gestures, a coffee cradled in hand and a subtle acknowledgement to the team, the tables gleamed, and the kitchen was intent on its task. The atmosphere was calm yet relaxed. Marisa, now stepping back from management but present for a check-in, took a seat near the front with a clipboard in hand. She raised her gaze as Elijah drew near. "Did you perceive what you were hoping to perceive?" she inquired. "No," Elijah remarked, observing Leo assist a new employee in adjusting the soda station. I observed everything I required, and then she shut the clipboard. "So, is this the end for you?" "No," he replied. "I'm improving at addressing issues before they escalate." With a brief nod, she rose and exited the room. As the doors swung open that morning, a steady stream of customers began to enter. Familiar faces came back. Fresh faces appeared. The air buzzed with the sound of voices mingling. Requests were noted, dishes presented, and remnants removed. No one raised their voice. No one stood still. No one bothered to clean the floor, as the truth was already evident. That lesson had been absorbed and would remain etched in memory.